Exciting news, listeners. We've got a new feature.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
It's the part he was born to play. Folks, wherever you are, as long as it shows up on Google Maps, I've got your back. Starting in the southwest, those bank holiday travellers will never learn. It's an absolute nightmare on the M5 northbound from Taunton all the way to Portishead. So that's through Weston-super-Mare. You're thinking you can pull off onto the A38. That's also chocker past Bridgewater. You're thinking I can pull into Bridgewater Services. Unlucky, it's been voted the worst UK services year on year.
Ooh.
Those aren't my words. That's according to motorwayservicesonline.co.uk. If you're thinking of avoiding the M5 northbound by taking the A303, bad luck, because as you go through Cranbourne Chase area of natural beauty, there is a massive snarl up through Mere, Hindon and towards Little Langford. That then continues at Berwick St James. So if you're trying to get north from the southwest, my advice is come off at Exeter, go A30 northbound, A303, then A37 through Shepton Mallet, not Shepton Malin. Looking west, Newport, there is a snarl up westbound, past Newport, Elis. People rubbernecking to look at the scenes there.
What, the Celtic Manor Hotel?
No, just Newport in general. Okay, moving further north. Guys, if you're heading down to Lancaster, I hope you've packed your sandwiches because towards junction 36 of the M6 southbound, I think I'm right in... No, yes. Towards junction 36 with the A590, it's a slow-moving nightmare.
This should be called vague travel with John Robbins.
It's not vague, it's specific.
And just to be clear, John is actually just Googling the travel as we speak.
Ellis, this is as live as it gets, not like the BBC. Theirs is franchised out.
What, to Sally Traffic?
But she retired years ago. So anyway, M6 southbound is solid from Gatebeck through past is now past junction 36 and all the way down to Lancaster. But what a part of the country to get stuck in.
Oh yeah.
Though when you hit Lancaster, my changes like that. Apologies to anyone in Lancaster. It's just, I mean, the scenery really does change quite abruptly from the wonderful dales and forests to a kind of urban nightscape. All of Scotland is fine. So if you're on Scotland, wherever you are, enjoy those speeds, but do keep them within limits, especially if there's an average camera on there popping up all over the shop. If you're coming towards Birmingham from Warrington on the M6,
busy.
There is a snarl up at Sandbatch, which gets worse and worse towards around Knutsford. But pull into Knutsford, you're not going to lose much time. It is a cracking services.
I lost my phone there once.
So if you see a phone, pick it up. I once lost my phone at Reading Services and I called them twice and it turned out it had been hidden by a cleaner who wanted to keep it for themselves. I didn't press charges. M1 past Rugby southbound is looking a bit tricky, but don't worry, it's easing up. And finally, Dorchester is problematic. That was John Googles the Traffic.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
There you go. More of that tomorrow.
I mean, what I think's funny is that Johnny Vaughan never ever refers to this show as a drive time show. But we've grabbed the drive time bull by the horns and we're running with it to mix idioms.
Or driving with it.
We're driving with it. Driving a bull off.
From the steering wheel to the blind spot, we're covering all the angles.
Radio
X.
Ellis James and John Robbins.
They Don't Own Me by Richard Ashcroft. You're listening to Ellis James and John Robbins on Radio X. John, you've had some travel news just in.
Yes, I must apologise to Where did this come in? Yes, Lisa in Scarborough. Lisa, I had this noted. The A64 south towards York, it's double trouble. Because once you pass Scagglethorpe, do they make these names up, Dave? Once you're passing Norton, you're going to hit heavy traffic southbound. Then as soon as you get clear past Kirkham Abbey, I'm afraid, you're back in it again at Barton Lee Williams.
What a casserole of traffic.
Yes, it's a traffic casserole, a casserole.
Very good, very
and
nice.
There's an accident, so maybe a car has rolled past Sand Hutton, so you've got maybe, I'm saying 3 or 4 miles in 2 separate places approaching York. Unlucky if you're there, and there's no clear way of coming off. You're just going to have to grind it out.
It's going to add an hour to your journey, I reckon.
I think it could be more if you're going from Scagglethorpe to York. If you do live in Scagglethorpe.
Scagglethorpe.
It sounds like a name I've made up to tease a northern friend.
Yeah.
I used to, when I lived with John Richardson, I would do an impression of him like this. Oh, I've just got the bus to Appenthwaite. And Appenthwaite was the place I would use. But
well, what did he do then? He let you do it?
He got bloody hell. And then go up into his room.
Shut up, John!
That you weren't allowed in. And play
very
darts.
tidy room. On his own, in his room.
Yes. He's a very good dart player.
Is he? As is Tim Vine, the one-liners man.
Well, I regularly played Tim Vine at darts in Edinburgh, and though Tim would routinely beat me, I have the record for the highest outshot. I hit a 157.
Did you?
Treble 20, treble 19, double tops.
And he's very kind to you, isn't he, Tim?
Oh, Tim Vine, what a nice man.
What a nice man.
Oh.
Never met his brother.
He's such a... You what?
I've never met his brother.
I thought you were suggesting he'd never met his own brother. Vine and Tim and Jeremy, they're separate ivory towers.
No, I've met Tim lots of times, but I've never met his brother.
Tim's great. We were exiting the Theatre of Conflict, the darts area.
Right.
And a very beautiful lady passed by that amongst... perhaps...
Your Luda friends?
Luda friends, may...
Younger friends?
Yes.
Rock music fans?
Yeah, amongst rock music fans may have elicited an non-PC response.
Yes, a raised eyebrow and the rest.
Whereas Tim just turned to him and went, "Ooh, crumbs."
Oh!
Which I thought was lovely.
I went for a pint with a monk on the day after Boxing Day, an actual practicing monk from Oxford, and he had to describe a woman's chest area for the purposes of an anecdote. And obviously he hadn't done it before, and he just went, "She was fulsome," which I thought was a lovely turn of phrase for a monk, who obviously doesn't have that language at the tip of his fingers usually.
If you are a monk and have had to create your own family-friendly terminology for anything lewd, do text us on 83936 or tweet at Radio X.
Dare by Gorillas on Radio X. You're listening to Ellis James and John Robbins on Radio X, known throughout the world as Guardian Angels of Drive. That's right, we know it's a nightmare out there on Britain's road. So to get you home safe and sound, we have a brand new feature. Dave, hit the jingle.
X from the A1 to the M98. John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. I've got your back, whether you're on an A road or a motorway. Can't do B roads. Google yet to really sort of get up to speed with that. However, we start down in Crawley. If you're passing Crawley northbound, you're going to be crawling, because there is a snarl up just before Copthorpe. It's due to some roadworks. Why do they have roadworks at rush hour? I don't know. On the M25 anti-clockwise.
The world's biggest car park, as my dad calls it.
Well, just one section today, past Limpsfield, between junction, if I just zoom in far enough, junction 6 and junction 5. Should have guessed that. You've got about a 15-minute delay.
It's only going to get worse at this time.
Moving out into my favourite corridor, the M4 corridor, there are hold-ups westbound passing Hungerford and Newton. So if you are trying to hold off to Membry services, alas, you're going to have to stop at Cheveley. Not ideal, I know, but there's been a crash.
Very drafty services, Cheveley.
Yes. If you are in my old neck of the woods, travelling from Bath to Bristol on the Bath Road, then unlikely that you will beat my record of 24 minutes for getting from Bath to Bristol the back way, which I used exclusively to get back to pubs before last orders. Basically, it's a bit of a nightmare all the way up to the Keynsham bypass. But once you get past the Keynsham bypass, you're free to get that sweet, sweet pint. The A1M past Nebworth. I'm just trying to find out if this is south or northbound, but plenty of people clearly taking the time to take stock and remember the greatest ever gig held at Nebworth, which was Queen's final live performance in 1986 at the end of the Magic Tour. Oh, it's northbound on the A1M, so just before Nebworth. Again, Scotland is fine. All of Scotland is traffic free at the minute. I don't know what's going on there. It was the same yesterday. Maybe people have taken to their feet in some form of mass protest. And if you are circumnavigating Manchester, you have my sympathies, because the M60 clockwise and north and south, it's not a circle. The M60 north and south past Event City. What's Event City, Dave?
Never heard of it, John.
You're from there.
I've never heard of Event City.
The Trafford Centre.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of the Trafford Centre.
Basically, southbound past the Trafford Centre is a nightmare. Northbound past the Chill Fast store. What's that? Chill Factor.
Chill Factor E.
Yeah.
What's Chill Factor E?
It's like an indoor
chill out
skiing
zone.
slope.
Skiing slope, yeah.
Oh, right.
Why is it called Chill Factor E?
I don't know.
Because it's written Chill Factore. They've not separated the E from the rest of the word on their Google listing, so someone at head office surely going to be looking for a job come February. That's all of the traffic I've had time. The A10 north to Ely. If you're heading back to check out a lovely cathedral, Ely, then it might take you longer than expected, but merely use the time for some quiet reflection. That was John Googles the Travel.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Maybe more at that same time tomorrow. If you've got any travel updates, do text us on 83936.
Such an adrenaline high, Dave.
Tweet us at Radio X.
To think of the listeners hanging on my every word and suddenly chuckering right across 3 lanes to avoid a snarl up that I've warned them about.
You did really well there, John.
Thanks, mate.
I think you saved so many people's teas from going cold.
I'd love to know the sort of gross amount of work hours I've saved Britain's economy.
All of those oven chips still warm on Britain's tables because people take shortcuts.
You can do traffic in other countries. Paris is an absolute nightmare.
Well,
don't drive around Paris, guys.
What about Moscow?
Moscow.
I imagine the traffic's pretty hellish. It's not rush hour in Moscow, is it?
I wonder if they allow Western Europe to hear about their traffic.
Good point. I wonder if we have any listeners there.
If we have
Somehow,
here we go.
Go on then.
Well, it's not rush hour in Moscow, is it?
No, but still,
Moscow
busy
is
place.
fine.
Moscow is
just
fine.
talking about the traffic.
Elis James and John Robbins. Radio X.
That was Biffy Clyro Rearrange, and this is a statement prepared by Radio X on behalf of John Robbins. Radio X would like to apologise for mistakes made during John Googles the Traffic. The M60 is not a straight motorway, it is a circle, known as the hula hoop of the north. It's the north's it's the little sister to the M25, and is thought of kindly by all here at Radio X, though we can confirm that anti-clockwise to the left near the Trafford Centre, the traffic is still very bad.
Well done, mate. That can't have been easy.
We've got Radio X go on to add, we have more great music coming up from Oasis, who should know more than anyone what shape the M60 is, though I doubt they were often driving themselves. And The Clash, who would have no idea what the M60 was because they were too busy smashing the system, including the highways and byways.
Nice one,
Stay
John.
tuned.
Proud of you. You're listening to Elis James and John Robbins. Now it's an honour and privilege here on Radio X Drive Time to get you commuters home safe and sound. And to that end, it's now time for John Robbins Googles the Travel.
X. From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. It's time to G the T with JR. Leeds first. We've got problems on the M1 and the M621. Coming out of Leeds, it clears up once you get towards Wakefield, but the problems really start at junction 41, so maybe try a different route out of Leeds because it looks massive, that traffic jam. Manchester, our old friend, when will you sort out this junction? Honestly, we've got problems. It's the M62 and the M602 on the west of Manchester. Problems at the junction there due to roadworks, and also still busy past the Trafford Centre. What on earth is going on there? Probably a Michael Bublé concert or something of that ilk. I'm pleased to say we finally got some traffic action in Scotland after a very quiet couple of days as people have awoken from their slumbers after Hogmanay, and the M8 East, both in and out of Glasgow, but that clears up after the roadworks at Junction 8 for the M73. I would advise services, but I'm not familiar with any Scottish service stations because I believe T-Bay is actually on our side of the border. Birmingham looking messy on all four corners, no change there. And the M25, hope you're not going anti-clock, guys, because if you're going anti-clock anywhere between Gerrards Cross and Weybridge, you're going to run into trouble. Well, I bet you'd love to run into trouble. I bet you'd love to run into anything, because chances are you're going to be stock still. Well, you know, it's always a mixed bag services-wise on the M25 because they are few, far between, and not of a very high standard. So just take your money, pays your choice. If you can find one with an M&S, great news. And that's it. That's all of the traffic. Oh, no, hang on. Winchester's just blown. Yeah, M3 going past Winchester and towards Eastleigh. You've got about 2 miles there, slow to medium moving. Then if you hit Eastleigh and you're heading towards Portsmouth, you're in for a right terrible time of it. Oh, sorry, it got overcome because the M27 eastbound is problematic between Eastleigh and Thomas Cook Travel Limited, which is in Hedge End. Sorry, that's the only reference point I've currently got on the Google map. There you go. That's your travel. You're welcome to it.
There'll be more of that.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
There'll be more of that same time tomorrow, so stay tuned if you're a commuter and you're on your way home. This is the Cortinas, the 17th. You're listening to Elis James and John Robbins on Radio X. You're listening to Elis James and John Robbins on Radio X. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to stand in for Johnny Vaughan on Drive all week. And obviously we've been charged with the task of getting you home safe and sound. Any commuters out there who are having to cope with Friday evening traffic, fear not, because now it's time for John to Google the travel.
X. From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. If you've got that Friday commuter feeling, then I'm guessing that feeling is something along the lines of, why are you moving lane this slowly? Why are you changing lane at all? You're the sort of driver that gets us in this mess in the first place. Stay in lane and wait it out. Anyway, we'll start with Britain's two great orbital motorways. First, the M60 Manchester. It's been a feature of this section every day of the week, and I'm afraid today is at its worst. Probably easier to tell you which of parts of the M60 are clear. So if you imagine the M60 as a head, the scalp from the top of the left ear to the top of the right ear is fine clockwise. So that's from Worsley to Ashton-under-Lyne. The right jowl is clear anti-clock and clock, and so is the left jowl, but Stockport, Old Trafford, Middleton, it's hard to get on or off. So if you're stuck there, you have my sincerest sympathies. Down to the M20, E5, can't shorten it, that's confusing. We've got problems anti-clockwise past Egham and Chertsey, also causing delays on the M3 towards Basingstoke. And Oh dear. Coming up, oh yes, there's roadworks and a crash. It's the double just by the QE2 bridge. That is clockwise, and that's leading, all the way back to junction with the A127. That is junction 29. So now, away from the orbitals and into the trunk routes. The A1M northbound towards Letchworth Garden City is problematic. And Southampton, what are you doing? There are hold-ups on the M27 eastbound towards Hedge End. We move to East Grinstead. If you're around East Grinny, you're going to be around there longer than you'd like, because there is an incident around the A22 which is causing problems all the way back onto the A264 and the A22. Further west towards Elis's neck of the woods, I'm afraid Whoa, what's going on in Weston-super-Mare? I'm sorry, Wales will have to wait. We've got problems coming into the city centre. Goodness knows what everyone's getting there for at this time of year. But yeah, the A370, I'd get out of your car and walk, taking some of the not-so-fresh air if you've ever visited Weston. The M4 away and towards Newport is at a standstill. I don't know if this is two rival armies meeting in the carriageway, but basically, if you are going eastbound between Cardiff and Newport, you're going to be very, very slow. And if you're coming in past the Celtic Manor Resort westbound, you're also going to have more than enough time to view the host of the previous Ryder Cup. There's also problems in Antwerp, but I'm not getting into that. That's in Holland. And yes, Glasgow is problematic, but Edinburgh, as per, is fine. There you go.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
More of that never. That's the last one.
No. I mean, you could do it tomorrow on our Saturday afternoon show, but it'd be a bit quiet, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that would make it easier.
Yeah.
Also, it would probably make the snarl-ups more interesting.
Yes. Also, I think Antwerp's in Belgium, not Holland.
I think you're probably right there,
just
mate.
To stop any, to preemptively stop any texts.
You're absolutely right. It's on the border, and I apologise profusely. I feel like Antwerp. Does that work?
Well, you've made up for it with that, so well done. Now, it's 8 minutes past 5. You knocked off work a couple of minutes ago. Oh, you can't wait to get home. What are you going to have for your tea? Finner's crispy pancakes, beans on toast, maybe takeaway. Who knows? What you do know, though, is that British traffic is an absolute nightmare. The roads are congested. There are too many cars on the roads. How are you going to get home? What's your route going to be? Well, thankfully, help is at hand as I hand you over now to John for the latest traffic updates.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. We start off with the M25, the watch around London's wrist. And to the southwest, we've got problems all the way from Downside, that's the downside, up to Thorpe Park. That is clock and counterclock. Southbound towards the junction with the M3, it's just counterclock that you've got problems from Hythe End. Moving north on the M25, if you're going all the way to the top, you're in real trouble because from Heathrow up to Chalfont St Peter, it's absolutely stacked. It's ripped like a handsome bodybuilder. My advice, come off the M4 and move to Bristol. Heading north, Birmingham. If you imagine the sort of T-shaped junction between the A38M and the M6, it's just solid dark red. If you're trying to get from Water Orton to Blockswich, I'd forget about it. Pull over and have a sandwich. Heading further north to the troubled bypass betwixt Liverpool and Manchester. If you're trying to get anywhere on the M62, you're in for a rough ride. If any ride. Basically, from Eccles to the junction with the M6, it's solid, and vice versa. If you're travelling from Liverpool to Manchester, maybe trying to escape, you're going to have problems on the M62 eastbound. It's all this junction with the M6, junction 21A. They've got roadworks on the slip roads. Nice one, guys. Yeah, why not have roadworks at rush hour on one of the country's most busy junctions? Honestly.
A tale as old as time.
A tale as old as time. A tale back as long as time.
Very, very nice, John.
Now we go, the penultimate trip on our journey is to Glasgow. Where we find the if you imagine the M8 and the M77 as a sort of the outline of a horse, then the hindquarters, spine and head are solid, the mane is moderate, and the foreleg is clear. That's sort of the quickest way of explaining that. Basically, if you're trying to cross the Clyde on either the M8 or the M77, I hope you enjoy the view. And finally, we head to my old stomping ground, Avonmouth, where I once was punched whilst wrapped in bubble wrap at a packing warehouse. If you are in Avonmouth and you're travelling up the St Andrews Road, something's gone badly wrong. We're talking about the roundabout next to Team Ghosts Karting Bristol, Team Sport Go-Karting, right up to Cabot Park parking. The only place you're going to get above 15 mph is on the karting track. Anyway, more Googling of the travel tomorrow, folks. Be safe, be sound, be sorry if you're in the wrong.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Yes, as John said, there'll be more of that tomorrow, getting you home safe and sound. Anyway, now it's time for some music. This is Coldplay with something just like this. Drive time. We're driving you home. If you've been at work all day and you're getting back to see your partner, your wife, husband, children, maybe just beans on toast on your lap in front of the telly, who knows? Either way, traffic is going to mean something to you. Now, the thing with Drive is this slot is a burden. It's a responsibility. So, if you're caught up maybe in a snarl up on one of Britain's roads, help is at hand, as John's about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. Here refreshing, so you don't have to. First off, we've had a text in from Dan. Dan says, just leaving Abergavenny, driving to Stockport. Which way should I go and how long will it take? Happy to help, Dan. M50, M5, M6, M56. You're going to hit a bit of a snarl up around Stockport, but what can you do? I reckon it's going to take you 3 hours, 10 minutes, mate. We begin our journey today in Winchester, fine historic Winchester. Well, it is historic because if you are travelling southbound on the M3, you're going to be history because there is an accident between Winchester and Eastleigh. The tailback goes as far north as Itchen Abbas, and rubbernecking is causing problems on the northbound as far back as Chandler's Ford. Folks, we move over to the M25, our old friend, the noose around London's neck. And same as per yesterday, around Chertsey, Weybridge, West Drayton, Uxbridge, Heathrow, it's just chocker, rocker, chocker, blocker, all the way, clock and anti-clock.
It's the biggest car park in the world, if you ask me, John.
If you're approaching the Dartford Tunnel clockwise, then you're going to have queues back as far almost as Shoreham. What a thought. You could divert, you could go A20, then A406 and maybe across through Romford, but maybe it's best just to sit it out. We head to Birmingham, and if you are heading, well, is it clockwise around the M42? I don't think it is. If you are heading left, basically the A38M's a pain. We go north now, back to Glasgow. And as we used yesterday to illustrate, the horse of the M77, 74, and 8, just to give you an update, it's actually worst around Ibrox and crossing the Clyde. Both the mane and head of the horse is blocked. The spine is darker red. The fore legs are clear, but both hind legs are at a standstill. And we end our travels today on the M5 South. If you are travelling from Bristol to Weston-super-Mare, and why wouldn't you be, then southbound, you've got a problem. Starts at Weston in Gordano, thickens through Tickenham, and then it's solid as a rock all the way down to East Hewish. My advice, pull into Eastern in Gordano services and play on the pinball machines as I did as a child, with supervision and pocket money, tax paid. There you go, folks. There's the travel. You may not like it, but what are you going to do about it? See you same time tomorrow.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
It really reassures me that there are drivers trapped in their cars. Not trapped in their cars, stuck in their cars. Trapped because of the traffic, who are getting a little bit of reassurance from you, John.
A little bit of respite.
A little bit of respite, a little bit of advice on routes to take. Maybe you're going to come off the motorway. Chance it on an A road, who knows? But anyway, it's a very, very valuable service you provide. It's 5:15. The roads, they're starting to hot up. If you're getting home from work and you're struggling, don't worry, help is at hand as John Googles the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. With all new horn sounds, I'm about to take you on a journey round the country. We begin, Southampton and Portsmouth, often at each other's throats, vying for who's the best. Well, today, it's a score draw in who's got the most traffic jams. Come in. Portsmouth leading the charge with a major snarl up on the M27 and the A27 westbound through Cosham and over to Southampton, holding steady with a double snarl up on the M27 west and east, but worst west. East, I just think it's that people are being chilled out, but west is where the accident lies. Further up past Winchester, we got problems on the M3 southbound. It looks as if there's an incident at Winchester, and then people, after they pass it, are just trying to take things slow and learning their lesson. Maybe they've been given a warning about the perils of speed. Going to Alton Towers for the evening. Don't know why you would, but if you are, the A31 southbound will give you time to think about what rides you want to go on. The M25, when will they solve the riddle, Elis, of the M25?
Can't be done.
Can't be done, mate. Cheshunt to Brentwood, counterclock. And that's a nightmare. If you're trying to get from, say, Romford to Potter's Bar, I hope you brought a tent. Actually, you wouldn't need a tent, just stay in your car. But don't if it's in the hard shoulder. Some of the statistics about that are terrible. Loughborough, Luga Baruga, as people from New Zealand call it. Northbound on the M1 towards Nottingham. If you're planning to spend your evening in one of Britain's oldest pubs at Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem, that pint is going to take you, I would say, an extra 20 minutes to reach. And I'm afraid to say, Dave, not for the first time, Manchester is chaos. Stockport, mate.
Oh no!
Your old stomping
Stockers?
ground. Stockport is Stuckport.
Oh.
Because the M56 towards Stockport and away from, in all directions, Manchester is deep red. All the way up. Well, basically, I mean, I can't see any green.
Really?
Just don't travel around Manchester today. Now, in fact, it's
Red Belt country, isn't it, Manchester?
It's red belt at the minute. In fact, the easiest way for me to describe the traffic problems is the only clear route you're going to get is from Worsley to Worsley to Ellesmere Golf Club, which is about a 5-minute drive. The rest of it is chock-a-block-a.
Don't say Manchester is red, though, because that does annoy City fans when you say that.
Right.
So just be careful.
Okay. Well, only in a traffic sense, Steve.
Yes, good.
Well, Manchester is... Yeah, it's red and dark red traffic-wise. It's blue and red football-wise. or yellow and green if you're one of those guys who set up that club. Glasgow, sort yourself out, mate. Have a word. Take a day off being full of traffic jams. Again, M77, M8 across the Clyde and also towards Motherwell. Oh, dearie me. If you are travelling towards Motherwell or perhaps Hamilton from Glasgow, it's probably quicker to walk. More traffic, more travel, more horns tomorrow. Now, we're going to get a complaint in from a ferry driver. Because I thought P&O were across my bowels.
Even though I'm in the house.
Yeah. So there you go.
There'll be more traffic news from John, same time tomorrow. You absolutely cannot complain about those alerts. There's no way on earth you could think that they were car horns. So if you're in the car, I'm sorry, but that feature's complaint free. Anyway, we've got music coming up from The Verve and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and this is brand new from Lord. It's Green Light. Now it's coming up to 5:10. If you're about to make your way home, you're concerned that you're not going to see your loved ones because traffic is a nightmare. Don't worry, help is at hand as John is about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. Here I am. Just a reminder, we are, due to complaints, no longer allowed to use actual traffic horn sounds like this. So, producer Dave has had to re-engineer sounds.
He's had to reimagine.
He's had to reimagine the traffic horn for the Snapchat generation. Ladies and gentlemen, if we imagine the UK as a pregnant lady side-on, with Wales as the bump, we begin in the gullet of Glasgow. What was that? It's not clear what that is, Dave.
So I've themed it for today. It's all iPhone 6 notification sounds.
Right, great. It's going to sound like we've left our phones on in the studio.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Glasgow, increasing roadworks, it seems, on the M8 are causing absolute mayhem again across the Clyde. Of the horse, only the forelegs are today clear, if you imagine the M8 and M77 as the outline of a horse. The M74, they're trying to attach a new motorway to it, and from Rutherglen to another place in Scotland, it's back to back. We move down the pregnant lady in profile to the M6, which is sort of the large intestines, or the rib cage, let's say. And the M6 is actually closed between junctions 17 and 18 due to a 2-lorry collision there. So traffic backed up all the way far south as Kiel. And they've just you're going to come off at Sproston Green, but unfortunately, is that Sprouston, Dave?
Yeah, I think it's Sprouston.
Yeah. You're going to have to come off at Sprouston Green, and it's absolutely chock-a-block there too. This follows on from only yesterday when a lorry crashed on the M6, catching fire to a load of dog food. You can read about that.
Smell
in the Daily Star. It would smell awful, burning dog food. Imagine that. Manchester, general mess. And we go down to the M27. So continuing the metaphor as the UK as a pregnant lady in profile with Wales as the bump, we're now sort of the sole of the foot, the M27. It's sort of the arch. And it's both ways on the M27 between Southampton and Portsmouth. So if you want to travel to either, it's best just to stay at home or swim. There we go. And finally, westbound towards Newport, Elis, your neck of the woods. So this is just under the bump of the pregnant lady in profile that is the UK. We've got queues from Bassaleg.
Oh, Basleg, yeah.
Basleg. We've got queues from Basleg on the M4 due to a... Just clicking on this. No, that's just the Celtic Manor Resort. That's what I'm talking about. So my advice, if you're approaching Magor services, turn off there to avoid the traffic, wait for it to clear, and find out what services looked like in the 50s.
Yeah, but you can also take advantage of their very cheap petrol.
Is it cheap?
Omega it is.
No, petrol's cheap.
Mate, we've had discussions about this long into the night, John.
Have we?
Oh, they obviously meant more to me than they meant to you.
That's great. Or I just can't remember because I was hammered like a legend. M25 mess as usual, especially between Romford and Harlow, top right-hand side. That's I get so confused with which way is clockwise and which way is not clockwise.
Yeah,
Think about a clock.
Well, I'm trying to, Elis, but I don't wear a watch because I am not a slave to time.
You're the ultimate slave to time.
No, I'm not, because I'm always on time. You're a slave to time because you're constantly late. So time is defining your mood, whereas I'm relaxed. Anyway, that's irrelevant. There's a place called Old MacDonald's Farm near the M25. That's where the traffic starts being bad.
Radio X.
More of that vital feature tomorrow.
Yes. Now it's Friday night. You're keen to get home from work. You might be having an omelette, maybe a takeaway. Who knows? Because the thing with an omelette, it's very quick. Now, where you are Friday night on the roads, I imagine it's busy, but don't worry, help is at hand. Because now John is about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. Here on hand to give you updates as and when Google Maps change colour. Due to ongoing controversies, we are still banned from using this sound and have had to replace the horns with less distracting tones. We begin with a trip to our three dear friends, London, Manchester and Glasgow. All have been hotspots throughout the week. I'm pleased to say the M25's looking a bit better. Around Cheshunt, it's stuck both ways. And that classic problem area of junctions 12 to 15 clockwise.
I hate those blooming junctions.
Oh, from Chertsey to Hayes.
Don't talk to me.
When will they solve that riddle? However, apart from that, it's green, 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 so you get going within limits. Is that a lion?
That's replacing a car horn, because a car horn, believe it or not, is too distracting in this feature.
That's just as good.
Glasgow is looking a bit better as well.
Is that a werewolf?
Some of them are too long, Dave.
That's all right, just keep it moving. Just talk over them.
Okay, so basically, if you're travelling, maybe threaded wheat, west across the Clyde, you've got your first amber day of the week.
I do that.
If you're travelling east across the Clyde, then it's still red because of those roadworks between the junctions.
Is that Chewie from Star Wars?
M77 and the M8. And down to Manchester, the M60, I'm not going to say it's clear, but it's certainly much more amber than it's been in recent days. Apart from the junction with the M602, I think you're going to get home in time, and what a treat for a Friday. Down to my neck of the woods, Bristol, my favourite junction on earth, the junction between the M4 and the M32, the UK's most Bristolian motorway, the M32. There's been an accident, unfortunately, and there are delays westbound all the way from Tockington to Tormarton. But just taking the view, consider moving there. It's an up-and-coming city. Elis, in your wood neck zone, we've got problems going towards St Fagans.
Oh, what? The Welsh Folk Museum.
The
biggest
Museum.
folk museum in Europe.
Yes.
And the best one.
And if you are attempting to get there, I imagine you're going to be screaming folk from your car at the amount of traffic on the A4232.
Yeah.
Down towards Twinirodin.
Twinirodin?
Yeah, that's what I said perfectly,
Yes,
actually.
you did.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Great road. Great folk museum.
And coming into Neath, we've got problems actually coming away from Neath. Actually, just Neath general.
Neath has been a problem, yeah.
And again, going towards Newport from Caerleon.
Oh, yeah, Caerleon. Great Roman fort.
All the way to Undy.
Yes.
Which is like a name of some pants.
Yes, but... What was
that, Dave?
It's a turkey.
Is that a turkey?
Is that the noise turkeys make?
Yeah.
Right, I'm worried that the noises are distracting.
It sounds like someone's cleaning a window.
It does sound like someone's
with a squeaky thing.
Or a cartoon cleaning of some glasses. Anyway, finally, Loughborough. Oh, dear. The M1 is stacked northbound from Cop to Oak, all the way past Kegworth to Long Eaton. So maybe come off on the A511, go back up on the A42. It's just caught between a rock and a hard place, Elis.
Touch and go.
Anyway, folks, won't be Googling the traffic tomorrow because it's a Saturday and traffic is banned on Saturdays. However, we'll be back with you on Monday.
Lovely ending there.
That was a nice ending.
It was a good ending.
Anyway, John will be Googling the travel all next week. This is Human by Rag and Bone Man. It's Monday, first day back at work after the weekend. You're eager to get home, eat a Finder's crispy pancake and watch a box set for crying out loud. So here to help you, it's John Googling the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. We begin today's slow journey where the M5 and M6 collide, two titans of the British motorway scene. That's right, it's the M5-6 interchange at Birmingham. One of my least favourite interchanges because it's where the M5, bastion of the south, meets M6, bastion of the north, and they tussle for supremacy. Well, I'm afraid today it's a score draw because someone has crashed on the southbound M6 just past the junction. That's leading to queues back northbound on the M5 from Rowley Regis and queues southbound from Bloxwich. The queues also, there is an accident just north of the A38M by Star City, and that leads you eastbound with trouble as far back as Water Orton. Should also point out we are still not legally allowed to use the horn sound effects because they were causing confusion on the motorways, and the last thing we want is to add another jam with a sound effect. Now, heading towards the M27, it's Southampton's favourite motorway, and there's just a minor problem. Eastbound from Chilworth to Southampton Airport wouldn't really be worth mentioning, but I am a fan of the town Chilworth and am considering investing in property there because of the name. A3... south past the Old Thorns Golf and Country Estate. If you are looking to get south to Petersfield, maybe pull into the country estate to use their toilets. Don't ask permission. M25 looking pretty decent today.
Oh my God.
It's green. If someone's driving a spaceship, Dave, they're going to be very confused. It's green all the way round until you get to Chertsey, where there's a classic snarl up with the junction of the M3, and also at West Drayton with the M4. But apart from that, it's green to go, go, go. Finally, Sheffield, or as I call it, the Bristol of the North. It's just looking a bit feisty there, to be honest. No real major tussles, just a lot of aggro kicking off on various A roads. The motorway, though, past Rotherham remains clear. It's just travel in and around the Sheffield area that's at slow to middling. I think that's it for today. I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I've not seen the traffic looking this good since, well,
Hallelujah.
The last night.
That first week we did drive, first week of January, it was very quiet because a lot of people weren't back in work. Do you remember Scotland was clear?
Scotland was clear on 2 consecutive days, which almost rendered the feature pointless. However, speaking of Scotland, Glasgow is easing across the Clyde. Main problems on the M74 south from Rutherglen all the way down to M&D's, whatever it is. What's M&D's? An amusement park with roller coasters, big wheel, soft play, bowling alley, and bingo. So probably should use a town as a reference point rather than just something I see on Google Maps.
If you're driving past Londis, then I'm afraid it's very busy. Anyway, there'll be more of John Googling the travel same time tomorrow. That was Blue Orchid by the White Stripes, a song that ends more abruptly than I expected, but that's fine. I was ready and waiting. Right, it's almost 5:10. It's peak time on the roads. If you're struggling to get home, don't worry. Help is at hand as John's about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks, here on hand with all your red and amber Google traffic news. Once again, you won't be hearing this sound because it's too confusing. Instead, there will be a myriad of alerts, none of which can be confused for actual traffic horns. First off, folks, if Leeds and Bradford are the eyes of a loved one, then for goodness sake ask them what's going on in their private life because they haven't had much sleep. It's bleary-eyed and red bloodshot traffic, both counter-clock and clock all the way around Leeds and Bradford. Whatever you're doing, I hope you get home safe at some point. That's not impactful enough, Dave, is it, that?
Pac-Man dying? Are you kidding? That's exactly the impact we want.
Well, it has emotional impact, but not an aural impact.
Today's worst traffic, folks. Roadworks on the M9 M876 interchange are causing merry hell in Bonnie, Scotland, east of Dunfermline and Edinburgh on both sides of the Forth River. I've no idea why they're carrying them out now at rush hour. I can only imagine they're unavoidable. But if you want to travel from Edinburgh Airport to Dunfermline and you're not using the bridge, it's because the bridge is closed. I've just noticed.
It never rains, but it pours up there in
the
Scotland.
Bridge, okay, Elis, right, the bridge across the Firth of Forth is closed.
Oh.
I'm now going to Google how long it's going to take you to get from Edinburgh Airport to Dunfermline.
So I've just come back from a mini break. I'm going back to my house in Dunfermline because, you know, a change is as good as a rest, but to be honest, I really want to be at home in Dunfermline with my feet up. How long is it going to take me, John?
Oh, Christmas Day, mate.
It's not looking good on the screens.
It's not even giving you... I'm going to try and drag to change the route. What are we... oh, dear, oh, dear.
Well,
it's not even giving you a route, mate. It's going to take you to go 39 miles. It's going to take you 2.5 hours.
You're joking.
I'm not joking, mate.
Well.
I was joking. Very good. Okay, so thoughts are with you if you are travelling from Edinburgh to Dunfermline or vice versa tonight. It sounds like a nightmare. My advice, get a hotel, ideally one with an all-night bar, get absolutely hammered. You tell your boss there was no choice. Or don't, if you don't want to, for balance. M50, if you are trying to get west into Wales from the M5, there's just a little snarl up coming in towards Longdon. So my advice, use it as an excuse to stop into Gloucester Gate because Strensham might be problematic to get to, and Gloucester Gate is one of the great wonders of the motorway world.
It's a very quiet motorway, the M50. I'm surprised there's a snarl up there. I've had some great times in that motorway.
I think someone has been so distracted by how great Gloucester Gate Services is that they have probably spun, but unharmed and well satisfied with a boot.
Your ideal
full
crash.
Of horses.
Your ideal crash for this feature.
Yes. M25. Well, if the M25 were ahead, both the scalp and chin are covered in traffic. Counterclock Potters Bar to Cheshunt and counterclock from Leatherhead to Junction 7 with the M3. So if you're playing clock versus counterclock roulette, let's hope you hit clock. And that's about it, folks. Towards the Dartford Tunnel, I'm just seeing, clock towards Dartford Tunnel is a bit of a snarl, but as soon as you get past the tunnel, it's fine and easy. So, wherever you're travelling, wherever you are driving, have a nice
It's not
day.
where you're from, it's where you're at.
If the result of all our travelling will be to return to the place we left and know it for the first time.
Yeah, okay.
That's not quite accurate.
No, but still, a very philosophical end to this feature, which is actually just Googling the traffic. But still, now I've...
The end of all our travelling will be to return to the place from which we left and know it for the first time.
Good. Well, you're listening to Radio X.
Radio X.
If you're a commuter and you're on your way home and you need advice on the best way to do that so you can get home in time to see your wife and kids or to watch telly or whatever it is you're doing.
Or your husband and kids.
Or your husband
women
and
are
kids.
allowed to work.
Of course
now,
they're allowed to work. I'm well aware of
views
that.
you expressed during
No,
tracks.
that's... Don't you ever say that again. Anyway, we've got help at hand because John is about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
As ever, there'll be none of this. And plenty of this. We start, Doncaster, what's gone wrong, Caster? It's the A1M northbound. Don't know what's going on, but from Adwitlick Street to past Warmsworth, it is red. Further down south to the base of Britain, between Brighton and Lewis. I hope you don't need the Lewis, because you are going to be stone cold solid on the A27 past all the way to London Road. If you're heading to Glyndebourne, for example, to listen to some classical music out of season to get a good seat, then maybe divert via the sea. Over west, west is best. In broadly, as in directions, anyway, the M25. Oh, it's a cracking junction with the M4, but as soon as you've passed it, you're hitting solid red down towards Portbury Docks, and Avonmouth is the junction that's causing the problem, right by Shirehampton Golf Club and Cricket Club. I once saw a batsman smoking whilst batting at Shirehampton.
Oh, sport at its best.
Shirehampton third 11. Have a fag, mate. You're about to hit 50. Very nice. Elis, give me 2 facts about Pontyclun.
Pontyclean?
Yeah.
My cousin is the local. That's where his local is. He drinks there, and it's got a cricket club.
Okay, well, I'll give you a further fact about Pontyclun.
Pontyclean.
The Pontyclean. The M4, but beneath it is both amber, red and dark red. All 3 shades of traffic jam there. That's due to a problem just before junction 34 of the M4. And we will now head to... Where are we going now? We're going wherever we choose, John. It's your decision.
San Francisco, please.
Oh, M42 has just kicked off southbound from the Coleshill interchange all the way down to Tamworth in Arden. Maybe divert via the A452. I don't know if that's possible. And finally, our southernmost traffic jam today is on the A3022 between Paignton and Torquay, and our northernmost is on the A99 coming into Aberdeen. More of that tomorrow, guys.
Time for some music now. This is Kings of Leon with Find Me. You're listening to Elis James and John Robbins on Radio X. Now then, if you're a frustrated commuter on your way home, maybe if you're the comedians Josie Long and Tez Elias on the way to a gig in Nottingham and you're confused by the traffic, frustrated by the traffic, don't worry about it. Help is at hand as John's about to live Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Folks, as usual on John Googles the Travel, we won't be using this noise due to complaints. We will have a selection of non-mistakable alert sounds. And all new on John Googles the Travel this week is Service Station Watch. I have adapted my Google search to show all service stations, getting you to your pit stop in the best possible shape. And it's a double debut here for the M80 and the M876. Basically, they're the sort of forked path that leads from Glasgow to, it's too many petrol stations, Falkirk and Stirling. They're both absolutely rammo southbound, leading to where the forks merge on the M80 due to a problem towards Glasgow. You've got plenty of stations available, but my advice, go before you leave home because it's going to be It's going to be a long old night. We move down. Unfortunately, the M6 is an evil duchess today. We've got several problems on the M6. First off, between junction 19 and 20, we've got jams both ways due to an incident. So if you're southbound and you missed Knutsford, for the Lord's sake, I hope you went to the BP at junction 27. If you didn't, my heart goes out to you. If you're northbound, just go to Knutsford. However, once you've been to Knutsford, if you don't take my advice, you're going to hit more traffic further down the M6 at junction 16. So pull into the Texaco on the junction with the A534 or the SO. It's up to the individual churchgoer. The M25, what are they doing? Basically, from Uxbridge, clockwise, all the way down to Cobham, 3 jams have combined into a mega pain in the bee.
A mega jam.
It's a mega jam. I mean, the M25 is notoriously short of services.
That is what sci-fi writers feared 50 years ago, was that the M25 would just be one big mega jam, and it's happened today.
Well, it is, and all you've got really, if you're coming past Uxbridge, is the Esso at Ivor Heath, but that's a detour. And proof if proof be need be, there are jams both to and from said Esso.
Arthur C. Clarke warned about this.
So there's
Shakespeare, I think.
There's knock-on effects all the way round. If you're currently thinking there's a monkey in your car, you're the person that caused this problem in the first place. Westbound from... I get confused with east and wests on motorways. Not while I'm driving. I'm a consummate professional. On the M4 past Underwood. Elis, give me a fact about Underwood.
Tony and Rory Underwood, brothers who played for the England rugby team in the 90s. Both very quick, and at least one of them worked for the RAF.
Okay, well, if you're coming past Underwood towards Newport, you've got problems until you're out of Newport, and then it's fine for the rest of Wales is clear.
Thank you.
There you go. That was John Googles the traffic with, I would say, confusing added service stations. More of that tomorrow.
Now, it's Friday night, the busiest time on Britain's roads, but don't worry, help is at hand as John is about to Google the travel live.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Guys, it's Friday, and as feared, it's a nightmare traffic-wise today. The worst of all traffic hotspots is Glasgow. If you are travelling through Glasgow, stop what you're doing and eject into space. Because basically every road in and out of Glasgow is bright to deep red. We're talking M8 west and east, north and south on the M77, north on the M74, and basically just everywhere with Glasgow in the title. So apologies to anyone travelling around there. Unless you've invented a hovercopter, it looks like you're in for the long haul. We move on down right to the base of the UK. The A34 Winchester bypass has closed, effectively making travel on the M3 North and the A34 South a long, drawn-out affair. The M4, Elis, is problematic in 3 Welsh zones.
I bet you I can guess. Cardiff to Newport, west and east.
No, actually, Cardiff is looking pretty clear.
Is it? At 5:16 p.m?
Yes.
What's happened to the Welsh economy, John?
Well, currently, it's all sat outside Port Talbot. Because westbound...
Speed cameras. Average speed check by Port Talbot. That'll catch you.
Westbound from about 2 miles before Port Talbot to all the way to Quimhydrequary.
Oh, right, okay.
Where's that? How am I saying that?
Please spell that for me.
It's north of Morriston, near Swansea.
That's lots of places.
CWMRHYD, no vowels yet. YC, still no vowels. Here we go, EIRW.
I couldn't tell from the way you were...
Quimhydrequary.
Cymru de Cairo.
Cymru de Cairo.
Cymru de Cairo, yeah, that's fine.
We have to wait for the 12th letter till we hit vowels there.
Well, no, because Welsh vowels are different. That's actually an English myth.
Okay.
We've got more vowels than the English language in the Welsh language.
Well, you've got more
7,
traffic
we've got-
jams than we've got vowels.
Good, because we've got such a potent economy.
Magor to Newport westbound is problematic, and our good old friend, the old Severn Bridge, if you're crossing from England to Wales, you've got a jam just before Ost, so why not check in to Ostview Services, where I used to go for dinner with my mum when I was a child as a treat. Amazing, what a time the 80s was.
Yeah. Do you remember what sort of food you used to have?
Yes, they had you put your food on a long, like, travelator.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
the most exciting part of my childhood.
Absolutely.
Watching the trays disappear. Okay.
They used to do beans and chips for a penny.
That's not sustainable.
No, as a sort of a kid's treat. So if 2 adult meals used to get beans
I've
and
got to
chips for a
stop
penny.
you there, Ellis. It's all kicked off just south of Swindon. East and westbound, right in the centre of the M4 corridor. We've got jams back to Hook if you're travelling eastbound, and the junction with the Croft Road if you're travelling west. And if you're on the M1, it's double trouble because from Long Eaton... No, from Colville up to Long Eaton towards Nottingham, it's chocker. We head up and then all the way north past Swindon, Sheffield, you loon. Basically, when you're bisecting the Sheffield-Rotherham Snake Pass, it's not until you get past Rotherham that you're clear. And Manchester again. Oh, it doesn't look pretty. The worst affected area is the M56 past the Manchester airport. It's stuck both ways, so you better hope you're on a plane taking off if you want to get anywhere this evening in the northwest. No Googling the travel tomorrow, because it's Saturday.
It's Saturday. It's just a very chill traffic day, Saturday.
So, until next time, whenever that may be, safe on the roads and pull into a services if needs be.
Over and out there from John. Thank you very much for John. To John, he's been Googling travel all week, getting you home safe and sound. Now it's time for some music. This is I Want It All by Queen. Now it's 11 minutes past 5. It's rush hour. People are eager to get home from work. Now, obviously, traffic's a nightmare. We all know that. And so John's here to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Now, if you're sat in traffic and you're worried about beep noises confusing you, don't worry, you're not going to hear any in this feature. We stood in for Johnny a couple of weeks ago, and because of producer Vin's judicious use of the beep effect, there it is. That don't get confused by that. People thought they were being beeped because they were in the wrong lane or they'd turned off on the wrong exit on the roundabout. You won't be hearing that noise again. Just to clarify, Vin, can we have one more beep, please? That's us. You're not hearing that. That's nothing to do with the traffic that you're currently sat in. Okay? So, John, what have we got?
Okay, folks, it's time to G the T. With Johnny R. And we start our journey today eastbound on the M4 towards Newport, Ellis. Those of you heading to perhaps Cardiff, Carmarthen or the sea will be in trouble from junction 25A back.
Oh, very, very busy spot.
So past Celtic Manor going east, you're in real trouble. There has been an accident just before junction 25A, so steer clear, but steer within the laws of steering.
Story from the next.
Not entirely sold on that one, Vin.
That is to replace the beep noises that people found so confusing the last time we did this feature.
It's less confusing now, isn't it?
It is.
It's more confusing.
Yes.
For me. M6 North, our old friend past Warrington as it splices into the M62. We're amber and red all the way back to Knutsford. So take my advice and pull into one of the UK's better service stations. Not the best, certainly better. I'd say Knutsford is top 10.
Champions League, please.
No, exact opposite of that.
Okay.
Mid-table.
Mid-table.
Upper mid-table. They're West Brom. M60, hello! If you're on the M60 past Stockport, perhaps going to visit a timber magnate, then you're going to be in trouble. East, west, never east, shredded west. Eastbound on the M56 leading to the M60 to Old Stocky. Apologies for that, but Manchester's traffic problems really only just start there and get worse on the M61.
Final answer.
Okay, M25. I don't know what's going wrong with it. There's been an accident on the ramp by the M4 joining zone.
4B?
Don't
4B,
know.
the M4, which is weird.
Can't zoom in that far, mate. Okay. M25 clock and counter, though. This is a historic problem on the M25. I'd like to get the heads of the M25 together and bang them against each other until they solve this issue.
Someone needs to sort it out, John.
They do. It's
the orbital motorway around London.
It's problematic all the way down to Egham and up to Uxbridge in both directions.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Okay, we've also got problems towards the Dartford Tunnel. They're doing roadworks. Why wouldn't you do roadworks at rush hour?
Oh, for crying out loud, John.
And that's affecting travel counterclockwise all the way back to Crockenhill. Finally, we move north up to Edinburgh. In Scotland and in Edinburgh. Basically, Edinburgh's sort of made of a ring road, but it's not one road. It's sort of 5 separate roads that turn into a ring road. The A's 902, 199, 720 and 90.
They've got a different way of doing things up there, John.
And it's worst on the south of that sort of ring, both clock and counter, east and west, depending on which way you're viewing the ring road. I think it's probably an accident, a mixture of queues and rubberneckers. And in Leith as well. Sunshine on Leith, no doubt, but also an awful lot of stationary traffic on the A199 in and out past Craigertinny Golf Course. So take a view on the 10th. And then be in traffic for ages.
Nice to see you! To see you!
There we go. I'll be Googling the traffic again tomorrow. Wherever you are, sit tight, obey the rules of the UK roads, and goodbye.
Now it's that time of day when the whole country's struggling to get home. If you're stuck in traffic, don't worry, as John's here to Google the travel live.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks, here to help you get back on your commute. And as a protest, I am boycotting covering the M25 until those bigwigs get their heads together. I'm sick of talking about Egham, Chertsey, Potters Bar and Dartford. All a mess as per, but it's the same day in, day out. So we're going to start our travails in Glasgow. Up in Glasgow, what on earth is going wrong? I've got a list of the problems here, and we have a man on the ground. We've got Matthew in Glasgow. Matthew, what's the situation?
I'm in a tunnel.
Thanks, Matthew. So we've got the M8 East, red. M77 east and west, M74 west. This is all across Glasgow's beating heart. Just to remind you of the analogy I used earlier, if the motorway is crossing Glasgow with the outline of a horse, this is the upper spine, rear hind leg on the right, and the front leg, and then both the mane and the jaw and head. If you are in Glasgow and have any idea why your roads are so bad, let me know. I feel sorry for you all, guys. There's also double closures on the M8 and A8 junction in Glasgow, blocking the M73 and 4
Double
south.
closure?
Double closures.
Double C.
I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they're upgrading their roads to a new super road. We now go to the M6. Karen on the M6. What can you see, Karen?
Lots of trees, John.
There you go, folks. It's a lovely part of the world. But Sandbach is at the centre of today's controversy. The traffic is slow southbound up to Sandbach, as far down as Radway Green, and as far north as Cranage. This is also having a knock-on effect on the A34 and the A50, so don't try and avoid that M6. If you are there, I mean, Knutsford is the only beacon of hope, because as we get to Warrington, it's slow north from Tabley all the way to the junction at Birchwood. We now go to the M60. Benny, on the M60, what can you tell us?
It's traffic chaos, John. It's chock-a-block.
It certainly is. Manchester, what can we do, Chester, with you? Because the M60, 30% of the M60 is solid red.
30p?
30%, mate. This is clock from Sale to Prestwich. That's solid. Counterclock from Sale to Cheadle. Solid. And so basically stay to the right-hand half of the M60 if you want to get anywhere, because it's just an absolute nightmare. And Reading has blown, folks. News just in on the M4. There has been a crash just east of junction 10. So that traffic's backing up to sort of in line with the University of Reading. If you were to draw a line south directly from the University of Reading, that's where the traffic starts heading east. Heading west, oh dear, if you're heading to the beloved West Country, you're in for a problem, because from White Waltham Airfield, basically Maidenhead, it's stuck until you get to Billingbear Park Golf Course, which is just shy of junction 10. Folks, hope that eases your stress, but I feel for you guys. I'll keep Googling it as long as you keep driving in it. That was John Googles the Traffic.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Now it's coming up to 5:10. I mean, it's busy out there on Britain's roads, but if you're stuck in traffic, don't worry. Help is at hand, because John's about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Welcome to the web, folks. It's your travel hound on the WWWs. And as usual, this week you will not be hearing this sound or this sound, because it confuses idiots. So we will replace it. Also, to the lady who texted in saying this, all sound effects make her dog go crazy. I'm sorry, there are limits to how many people we can please / dogs we can please. If your dog is trying to keep up with travel information, then you are giving it far too much freedom. Put it in a kennel.
Responsibility.
Yes, exactly. Dogs should not drive. I'd be the first to sign that petition. Folks, it's a busy day. We start with our guest motorway, which is the M2 in Sydney. It's all clear, probably because it's the middle of the night. Why do I bother? Folks, it's problematic again on our old friend, yours and mine, the M6. Northbound is the main issue, and if you were, say, travelling from Birmingham to Warrington, I think it would probably take you a billion years, because first off, you hit problems past Birmingham. That's from sort of what area would I say? Halesowen. So we start off Halesowen to Walsall, solid red. Okay, you've got past there, you're going past Penkridge. You're thinking, that's Cannock Chase area of natural beauty. I'm having a laugh. No, you're not, because you are hitting traffic as soon as you pass Stafford, which doesn't clear until Swinnerton. Then, as you circumnavigate N under L, Newcastle under Lyme, you're going to hit problems around Madeley, and that's not going to fully clear till towards Sandbach. Then you're getting up towards Knutsford, and you think, I won't pop into Knutsford, I don't need a wee that badly. Unlucky, because the queue from Knutsford to Ashton in Makerfield is solid red as far as it goes. That's, I'm guessing, about 10 miles.
I feel sorry for them. Wow, Finn.
That's a good non-confusing sound effect there. We move down to Birmingham. Just generally avoid bad traffic all over Birmingham. M40 past Warwick. Ooh, an interesting beast. We go amber, dark red, red, amber, dark red, amber, dark red. So it's kind of stop and start, I guess that is. But that's from Bishop's Tackbrook to Rowington. M1 North, Coptoke to Long Eaton. Oh, it's solid as an old block of wood. If you're alive in the Blitz and found that confusing, we apologise. M25, I boycotted it yesterday because I'm so sick of them not sorting out the M25, but now I'm going to have to do all of it. So, counter clock, Leatherhead to Oxted, bang. clock and counterclock from Chorley Wood all the way down to Leatherhead. That's 30% of the M25.
Oh, sort it out, boffins.
Elis, tell me your fact about the M25.
Average speed on the M25 is 25 miles an hour. Not quick enough.
Well, 25 miles an hour today, folks, is the stuff of a madman's dream. So,
What was that, Vin?
It's a silenced gun, mate.
southbound, clock from junction with the A12. What junction number is that? 28, all the way down past 29, all the way towards junction 30 on the M25 is solid as well. And Glasgow, still, if you are living in Glasgow and have to commute at rush hour, I want to set up a
fund? Benevolent fund?
A fund for you. I've actually looked into this.
Setting up a fund?
No, drivers face months of chaos. This is the Daily Record of a stretch of the M8 through Glasgow closes for roadworks. Both directions, right, the main motorway through Glasgow, Elis, shut for 10 weeks.
You know what? It's like the blimmin' government don't want us to blimmin' get to blimmin' work.
Oh, if you ask me, probably the cars are everyone hates people who drive cars. Anyway, team, that's all for today. There'll be more Googling of the travel tomorrow. We're not going to be with you over the bank holiday weekend. If you own a caravan, stay at home and think about what you do. Right now,
John Robbins Googles the travel.
this
X.
is the Amazons with their song Black Magic. But right now, it's time to sort you out if you're in a jam, because it's John Googles the traffic.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
As ever, folks, due to confusion on the motorways, we will not be using this sound. We will replace them with an increasingly eclectic mix of alerts and sound effects. I have to say, in all my time Googling the travel, it is an honour and a responsibility to be Googling it today of all days. It's the first day of the bank holiday weekend approach. According to research, the worst place to be today is the M25 junction 9 to 21. Travel time can be up to 3 times the expected amount. So let's head there now to see what's going on. And it's an absolute nightmare. It's a car crash. It literally is. A car has crashed. Basically, from Leatherhead, right, this is going clockwise, from Leatherhead to Rickmansworth. That is the entirety of the left-hand portion of the M25. You've got bad traffic. A journey from Leatherhead to Rickmansworth, or sort of Watford area, is going to take you nearly 2 hours. I would suggest alternate routes, but London is lighting up red as a tomato. So there you go. M40's being naughty. If you're travelling from Wheatley past Bicester, they're northbound. Southbound's fine. They're just getting on with their lives, living their lives, dreaming their dreams. You have no idea how high they can fly. However, if you're northbound, you'll wish you were flying because it's chocker all the way to Brackley. A common area of problem on the bank holiday weekend, everyone heading southwest to God's own country. If you're going past Bristol, you're going to get to take in a lot of the view. Problems start at Tomarton. This is westbound, and then past Pucklechurch, you're problematic all to the M5, M4 interchange at Almondsbury, then past Patchway, where an ex-girlfriend of mine used to live, all the way down to Pill, where a friend of mine lives, and then past Tickenham, where I've played golf, and Clevedon, where I've looked at the sea. All of those classic Robbins landmarks are seeing quite heavy amounts of traffic. Also, those roadworks on the M4 past Newport, they're still there. Still, I keep saying it, they're still there. No one's taken them away yet. So from Magor to Caerleon, westbound. Eastbound is fine. If you're travelling to London for your Easter holiday weekend, you're having an absolutely fine time. Oh, the M40's getting more naughty as I speak. If you're heading northbound to Birmingham, oh dear, on the M40 and still the M40. Anyway, that's bad. M6 past Birmingham northbound. Oh dear, from Stourbridge, sort of sort of level with Stourbridge, the same longitude, up to Walsall if you're navigating perhaps a Spanish boat. That's problematic. Then the M6 northbound past Stoke-on-Trent, up through Warrington. Holy Christmas Day, don't think about getting to Stockport from the M6. We head up to our old friends in Boyscotland and Glasgow. Well, as much discussed, the double closure of the M8 across the Clyde. I mean, you would literally be better walking, though I don't advise it. It is a motorway, and that is illegal. If you do break down, make sure you get out of the car and take refuge on the bank. Also southbound past Stirling on the M9. Anyway, folks, I hope your bank holiday hasn't started with a traffic jam. Just think of all the lovely things you'll be doing when you get there, if you get there. And maybe next year, just stay at home and have a little look at the wall.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X. Radio X.
Ellis James and John Robbins.
First of the gang to die by Morrissey. You're listening to Ellis James and John Robbins on Radio X with you until 4 p.m. We've got music coming up from Placebo, Alt J and David Bowie, and also our regular features. We've got Humble Brag of the Week and a light-hearted paper review. And I'm about to drop the bombshell that John Googles the traffic even when he hasn't got anywhere to drive to or when we're not doing that feature.
Well, I just noticed that a major segment of the M4 is closed both ways.
Yeah, but why? Why
what if I hadn't have known that and had planned a trip to the west?
Yeah, but you haven't.
Yeah, but it's good. It's important to be abreast at all motorway traffic situations.
You're not drive. Have you got a gig tonight?
No.
So you're going home, back to your house in Buckinghamshire?
Yes.
Why are you checking the M4 traffic?
Well, because I'll be going home to think about what I would do if the M4 was closed and I was making a trip to the west. Or, Ellis, because it's both directions, to the east.
Right.
That gets to the nub of the importance of this. I cannot stress it enough. The M4 is closed in both directions between Cheveley and Reading. If you don't think that's important, then you and I are going to have a little chat.
When's it reopening, John?
About 5:30.
Okay, I think it's important if you're travelling. You're not travelling.
Couldn't disagree with you more, mate.
But you're going home. You're just going to listen to your
M6
music.
Northbound, Ellis. What if I was travelling from Cannock to Stoke-on-Trent?
But you're not going from
I might be in my mind.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Okay, kicking off, we are in the centre circle that is the M25. If the M25 was a man's head, then the goatee is absolutely chocker, counterclocker. That's right. If you were shaving left to right, it's problematic. Right to left, smooth as an eel. I'm just to summarise, that sort of Sevenoaks from Epsom to Sevenoaks is bad. Counterclock. I'm boycotting Egham to Rickmansworth as a protest against repeated jams. Counter and clock. So no news on that today. Further north, as we head to the M6. Oh, northbound from Knutsford, guys. There's jams for a good, I'd say 3.6 miles there, just after Knutsford, so you will have a chance to pop in to Knutsford services. It's not bad, rated 3 burgers out of 5 by motorwayservices.info. It's rated 3 stars for truckers, 4 stars for families, and 4 stars for dogs. Features a Burger King, Fresh Express, and both upper crust and M&S Simply Food. So if it's baguettes you're after, there's plenty there. Its fuel brand is BP. Back to the motorways. Bradford is wreathed in a ring of fire. The A6177 is red all the way round. So if you've taken the family out to circumnavigate that former industrial powerhouse, add an hour. Glasgow, another repeat offender. 3 different motorways, all solid red. It's due to improvement works, but I'm not sure the population of Glasgow think they're being improved. The M8, M77, M74, actually the M8 in 3 separate places. I don't know how it's possible to have 3 separate traffic jams in a 4-mile stretch of road, but Glasgow have managed it. There's been a crash on the A1M northbound junction 60. It's amazing to think some motorways have that many junctions. But that is from the junction with the A689 all down to Preston Liskearn. No alternative routes, I'm afraid, so you just kind of have to sit tight. And finally, today's clearest motorway is a tie between the M3 and the M5. So congratulations to all involved.
And as it's 5:10, it's rush hour. If you're a commuter on your way home and it's all you can see in front of you is congestion and traffic, don't worry, help is at hand as John's about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. Here I am, hogging the hard shoulder to give you the eyes on the prize, the traffic prize. We're not going to be hearing our usual beep sound accompaniments after several complaints, so instead we will be hearing sounds such as this, which is an elephant, I believe, or maybe that guy off Police Academy doing a very good impression of one. We start in previously boycotted Glasgow. It's back to back to back to back. I've looked in the Transport Scotland website. This is due to M8, M73 and M74 motorway improvements. Well, those improvements seem the stuff of a distant madman's dream. People of Glasgow, I feel for you if you're stuck in the traffic, but it's just red everywhere. If you're coming into Glasgow from the south, stop off at Road Chef Hamilton services, for goodness sake, or you're not going to get a wee, I would say, within the hour. Further, it's actually a pretty good day on the motorways, I have to say. M1 North and South, however, there is a crash just by Trowell, and the queues subsume both Donington Park services and Trowell South services. So my advice is, if you're coming north, head to Leicester Forest East for your stop off, which has been rated 4 burgers out of 5 by motorwayservices.info. The clearest motorway today is the M40, should I say. So congrats to everyone keeping that link between Birmingham, Oxford and the M25 as clear as spring water. The M4, problems at Reading, there's been a crash at Winnersh, which leaves you stacked westbound, moderate eastbound, and some of the support roads are also jammed as people try to find a way out. Sometimes it's better just sit and wait. Otherwise you could be chasing endless rerouting on your sat-navs until you just lose your mind. And What's that?
It's a dolphin.
Is it, though?
It says dolphin on the screen.
Fair enough. And finally, today's guest motorway is the A62 between Toulouse and Bordeaux, which is fine. Don't know why. Maybe they knock off early. I'd imagine they do. Maybe it was chocker at 11 a.m. Who knows? That's the traffic updates, folks. More tomorrow.
Is that...
Well, you need to pick up from that, one of you.
Yes, sorry, there'll be more. Well, John will do that every day this week.
We'll work on the ending next.
Yeah, he'll get you
Well, I'm
home.
the correspondent, and I throw to you guys.
Anyway, now it's time for some royal blood with Lights Out. You're listening to Elis James and John Robbins on Radio X.
Well done, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Waterfall by the Stone Roses. You're listening to Elis James and John Robbins on Radio X. Now it's coming up to 10 to 5, so all of the commuters out there who are getting ready to drive home, don't worry about it if you're worried about traffic and travel and congestion, because John is about to Google the traffic live.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
You join our hero in Southampton. It's the M27 southbound, and there's been a crash at Cadnam. So it's the general Southampton area is so jammed, you're going to wish you were going underground. Because also the M271, which joins Redbridge Station to the M27, north and south, there are problems past Hillyfields. We go up now to our favourite, but one of the most treacherous junctions in the UK, where the M5 meets the M6. And if you imagine the junction as a silhouette of Colin Jackson hurdling over the A41, then Jackson's six-pack, shoulder blades and entire leading leg and trailing shin are jammed, whereas his buttocks and trailing thigh are clear. Just to clear that, unless that metaphor is not clear, it's the M6 south to Walsall, the M5 north to Caldmore, and then the M6 north from Star City to the M6. I think actually on reflection the Jackson analogy was clearer.
Stick with shins and abs.
Yes. And folks, along to our old friend at the M1 North and South, if you're passing Long Eaton, I hope it's not long since you've eaten, because you're going to be there for a while. More laughter in the studio, please, when I say things like that to help my confidence. And finally, Leeds. Oh, Leeds. Leeds, there are problems on the M621 betwixt the M1 and Elland Road. It's Elland Road, sorry. It's absolutely chocker. That is due to... I'm not sure. Maybe people are just taking in the view. Maybe there's a 5 mile an hour limit. We just don't know. But anyway, if you're there's a little S bend south of Leeds. Maybe it stands for south. We just don't know. But towards Holbeck, anyway, it's really problematic. And finally, the M25. I'm continuing my boycott of the left-hand side of the M25 because, and I'm directing the Traffic Highways Agency directly now, sort it out. Please, from Chertsey to Rickmansworth, what's going wrong? I want this made a priority at your next meeting. Apart from that, generally fine.
Great. Well, if you're a busy commuter, don't worry, because John will be doing this every night around this time for the next 3 weeks or so, because, you want to get home. John's a person to sort it out. Anyway, we've got music coming up from the Queens of the Stone Age and Catfish and the Bottom-Men. You're listening to Elis James and John Robbins on Radio X.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Elis James and John Robbins.
Now it's rush hour. If you're a commuter trying to get home, stay tuned, because John's about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Oh, that's right, folks. We start today's Googling of the travel with a debut. First appearance from the M2. And it's, I'm afraid, it's not good news between Faversham and Sittingbourne. The M2 is jammed in both directions due to a crash all the way past Painters Forstall. The M42, Birmingham, is in trouble. If Birmingham is in a box of motorways, a square box, then the M6 and the M5 junction, our old friend, is medium, and the M42, M40 is problematic. We've got jams all the way down from Marston Green to Hockley Heath and beyond to Alvechurch, and it's had knock-on effects on the M40 all the way down to Bishop's Itchington. That is a place. Okay, M1, making its third consecutive appearance on John Googles the Travel. A closed road. Which one is it? It's the A511. It always is. It's causing delays southbound from Nottingham to Leicester. So if you are travelling from Leicester to Nottingham, perhaps you are a lace merchant from the past, then you're going to be really struggling. I would advise, if you can, taking the A46, which is sort of the right-hand loop of that loop of roads.
It's that simple.
The M6 southbound from Sandbach all the way down to Stoke-on-Trent is very heavy, so do, and I emphasise this, do head into Sandbach services on the M6, even though, according to motorwayservices.info, it might not usually be your first port of call, as they give it only 2 hamburgers out of 5. Which is strange, considering they rate it 3 stars out of 5 for truckers, families, caravans, disabled drivers, dogs and coach drivers. So how have they come to that conclusion? That it's only 2 hamburgers if it's 3 stars, unless a star is worth unless a hamburger is worth 1.3 stars.
How will they get that 3rd hamburger?
Well, sort yourself out, motorwayservices.info. For those of you wondering, the fuel brand there is Esso. And finally, our guest motorway today, how do we over to Dublin? For a guest motorway, the M50, which if you are going clockwise around Dublin, is actually jammed the entire way from south to Dublin Airport. If you are going counterclockwise, it's pretty decent. So thanks very much, folks. More Googling the Travel tomorrow. I've never noticed how moving the piano outro to that song was. That was In the End by Linkin Park. And folks, it's bank holiday, which means it is the worst time for traffic. But don't worry, I am on hand Googling it when you are unable to.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the Travel live.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. We start in what is an incredible sea of deep red. And just to give you an insight, the deep red is Google's worst traffic rating. It's the M25. It's actually easiest for me to tell you which parts of the M25 are clear. If you are driving from Orpington to Bletchingley, you're fine. The rest is an absolute nightmare. If you are going clockwise round the M25, you are going to be looking at your clock for an awful long time. I would say avoid it would be my advice. I don't know if that's the official advice, but certainly from Reigate all the way up to our old friend Potter's Bar, that's 50% of the M25. It's just chock-a-blocker. And now, if you imagine the M25 is an octopus and each of the 8 motorways coming off it are arms, and that octopus is changing a light bulb, then that arm, the most vertical, at the top is... Yes, Vin, you have a question.
No, I was acting out the...
Great. So Vin is acting out the octopus there. So there are 3 tentacles that go northwards from the M25. That's the M1, the A1M and the M11. Most problematic is the A1M. It's a snarl up northbound past Welwyn Garden City. And if you're in that snarl up, you're going to be well in that Garden City.
Very good,
nice.
John.
Thanks, mate. Yes. Good radio bell there. And the A1M, and then once you've got past that, you're getting a Garden City tour of your life, because Letchworth Garden City, there's also a tailback all the way to Stevenage there. If the octopus, just to carry on the analogy, was thumbing a lift face on, i.e. the M4, that tentacle is very tricky. Oh, is that west? No, it's it's westbound. Eastbound towards the M25, but then westbound all the way to Reading. It's amber, red to dark red. And guys, if you're travelling southwest from London, you're in for an absolute nightmare, because the M5 is solid from Thornbury, where I was born, Princess Diana visited, and Henry VIII visited, and I saw Princess Diana there in her heyday. That is stuck all the way down to Clevedon, where I have been. But it does give you a chance to admire one of the great motorway interchanges, the M5, M4 at Almondsbury. And you can take in the view of Bradley Stoke, once the negative equity capital of the UK. Other problems, the M1 past Milton Keynes northbound to Northampton, and as we look further north, the M62, oh dear, all the way Warrington, Stoke-on-Trent both ways, towards Warrington. Maybe just sit in your garden and not go on holiday. I don't know. Edinburgh's tricky too. Folks, sorry I couldn't be more specific there, but obviously a lot of traffic to take on board. More Googling will be happening on Tuesday. No Googling the traffic will happen on Monday. It's Noel Day.
It's 5:10, so we're slap bang in the middle of rush hour. If you're a commuter trying to get home, don't worry, help is at hand as John's about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the Travel live.
We start with your friend and mine, Glasgow. Ongoing problems here. The M8 is stacked back to back, left and right, north and south, as per the council say that the roadworks should be completed in 1 billion years. South now, Loughborough. How much is Loughborough? It's medium to heavy between Loughborough and Nottingham both ways, past Donington Services, which is one of the better motos. Crash on the M62 and the M621 junction in Leeds, and the tailbacks are incredible to behold, all the way through Leeds and out towards Belle Isle. Those are both the approaches on the M's 62 and 621. No alternative routes really there, unless you were to be able to take the A643 or perhaps the A650 through Tingley. Now down to the M25, rootin' tootin' M25. Just scrolling down here. Apologies, the internet is not up to speed. Here we go. Yeah, Potter's Bar. I knew it. I knew it would be Potter's Bar. Clock from the Sainsbury's next to Willow's Activity Farm. Sorry, I have to use the points of interest available to me. All the way through Potter's Bar, past towards Waltham Abbey. Unfortunately, service station-wise, that jam goes past South Mims. Believe it or not, your next service station prior to that is at the other side of the M25 at Cobham, because the M25, as I said again and again and again, is woefully under service station.
What if you need a wee, John?
What?
What if you need a wee?
You just have to go in your hands.
I know someone who did that once.
Did you?
Yeah, and she... She had to take the car to be cleaned, and she blamed it on the dog. But she just sat on the seat and weed because of some awful traffic on the M6.
Okay, my advice, always keep an extra large Costa cup in your glove compartment. Folks, finally, Birmingham North. We are looking at the M6 South and North, and the M5, it's our old friend, the M6, M5 junction. Problematic since the day it was born in the past. So M6 South towards the M5, M5 North towards the M6. It's a classic interchange pile-up. That's all, folks. I'll be Googling more traffic for you tomorrow.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Okay, folks, we start off with a live report. It's coming on the text and tweets. It says wall-to-wall traffic on the A34, Chaos Robbins. Well, I'm checking this on Google, and I'm afraid you must be out of your mind, because the A34 looks pretty good. Bit of a problem, but it's a very brief one going north of Oxford. Oh, I can see it now. It's crash. This is just above Port Meadow, behind Oxford's gorgeous Jericho, where once in the fields of the past I would head towards a pub with friends in the early 2000s. But it's not the A34, it's the A44 that's problematic, mate. So, I mean, if you are going to text in, do make sure you know what road you're on. Anyway, we start our travails down on the M2 towards Canterbury. If you were a monk in modern times, you'd probably take the M2 as part of your pilgrimage, unless you were coming from Chatham or Gillingham, in which case you'd take the A2. Anyway, any modern monks will be jammed eastbound and westbound from Painters Forstall, so you better pray for some divine intervention. We go to Chester. Lovely Chester there, nestled in the cranny betwixt England and Wales. And it's the M56 eastbound towards Runcorn. I'm not sure of the cause, but it's certainly bad across the M53 and clears up around Frodsham. Now, Stockport, more like. There has been the M60 and the M56 are very, very red. It's due to roadworks on the outer ring road, and I mean, I've looked into this. If you were travelling from Manchester Airport to Ashton-under-Lyne, you can expect an extra half hour to be added to your journey. The mind boggles. What you do that half hour, we don't know. And finally, down to our old friend, the M5. Okay, so this is northbound from Clevedon up to Avonmouth and southbound from everyone's favourite interchange, M54, Almondsbury down to... Basically, it's centring around some issue in Shirehampton, or... Well, not in Shirehampton, but where the M5 crosses the River Avon, right opposite Shirehampton Park Golf Club, and not far from the cricket ground where I once saw an opening batsman smoke whilst playing. True story, that. Anyway, guys, other than that, broadly, apart from the M25, which I continue to boycott on the left-hand side until they sort it out, not too bad. So if you... Oh, well, I spoketh too soon. M6, north and south, it's just above Stafford. Yeah, I could have called that. There's been a crash at Whitgreave, my apologies, and that's adding what I would believe 10 minutes to 3 hours, somewhere between those, onto your journey southbound from Stoke-on-Trent. More traffic, more Googling tomorrow.
Radio X.
Elis James and John Robbins. X. From the A1 to the M98. John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Welcome, car hounds. We're going to move north to south today, so starting with our most northern traffic jam, it's the M90 southbound at Kinross. That's due to a crash at Glasgow, as per, bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper. And then we're clear all the way down from Lanark to the top of Leeds. So our first English traffic jam is Preston. Oh, Preston. I'm not in Preston. And if you're trying to get into Preston, you're not going to be in Preston for a while, because the M's 55 and 6 southbound are both dark red, Google Traffic's highest form of severity. And that's because of, I believe... Is it a crash? I'm having to zoom in quite far. It's either a crash or just heavy traffic towards Walton Liddale. Moving down now, it's the double on the M5 north towards the M6. The M5, the backbone of the UK, if you ask me. Some people think it's the M1, but I disagree. It's the classic double. It's a crash before roadworks.
Oh.
Probably people either not slowing down, texting as they drive, or my personal bugbear, changing lanes unnecessarily. You're going to get, 3 or 4 cars further ahead? I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to pass you when the traffic clears. So,
Preach.
What?
Preach,
yes, testify. M6, interesting situation here. A southbound past Knutsford, northbound to Sandbach, but a beautiful sort of oasis of calm betwixt them. So it's two...
The central reservation?
No, it's two jams in opposite directions, but with a central clarity of maybe 2 miles.
Oh, so no rubbernecking then?
No, so you can absolutely go crazy.
Nice one, guys.
M25, as usual, clock and anti-clock from the M4 to the A3.
4B.
And now a special report, Champions League traffic. If you're heading to Cardiff to watch some of Europe's finest kickers do out their worst.
Well, their best.
Or their... Well, no, you say do your worst, don't you?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Or your best. Yeah, it's a confusing phrase. The M4 from Stoke Gifford, that's on our side of the pond, right through to Severn Beach. That's just before the second Severn crossing. If you ask me, my favourite Severn crossing. That's very heavy. However, across the bridge, you're fine, but then bang, Magor, you hit traffic again until Caerleon. But from Newport to Cardiff, it's actually crystal clear.
The city itself is in lockdown, though.
Is it?
Yeah, for security reasons, because of the Champions League. It's very, very hard to get in and out of town.
Well, if you're trying to get there from the A4232, which is from the M4, so if you're coming east from, for example, Port Talbot, that's problematic through St Bride's Super Ely. But the A48M is clean as a whistle, clear as a bell. M5 south from Portishead to Congsbury. I don't know what's happened there, but that's going to add... Oh, it's crash. So that's actually northbound from Wicks St Lawrence and south to Ken. Anyway, that's going to add an extra 45 minutes to your journey. Guys, wherever you're driving, drive safe and don't change lanes unnecessarily.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Radio
X.
Ellis James and John Robbins.
It's 17:47 on Friday. You're keen to get home, of course you are. Don't worry, help is at hand. John's about to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Okay, folks, we start off at the M80 betwixt Glasgow and Falkirk. If you're heading north through Cumbernauld, I hope I'm saying that correctly, then you are at Google's most extreme shade of red. It's dark red. Further south, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Doncaster, what's gone wrong, Caster? Because if you're travelling north on the A1M past Tick Hill, it's going to take you a while. You might try coming off on the M18. Sorry, that's slam jammed from directly below Doncaster all the way up to the junction with the M180 below Thorn. So Doncaster, problematic. The M60 clock and counter round Manchester, also the M56 leading to Stockport. I hate to say this, is again going between bright red and dark red, the two most severe Google red shades. So problems there. M6, both ways. It's roadworks just north of Knutsford. So that's south and north. If you're going north, make sure you get into Knutsford services while you can. If you're going south, I don't know what you got round Warrington. And the rest of today's travel is solely an M5 exclusive because the M5 is in absolute dire straits. So much so that they're listening to Sultans of Swing. The M25, okay, basically, we've got an accident on the A30 to Honiton, towards Clist Honiton, which is causing tailbacks both ways on the M5. That's as far south as Kenford and as far north as Broadclist. We then head up the M5. Oh, you think you're riding free and easy, and then you hit Samford Arundel northbound. That's about 10 minutes. Then, whoa, you pass that for another mile. Oh, West Buckland. That is bright red, amber and dark red all the way up to Adsborough. You're out of that, you hit another one. Huntwood, northbound, past Down End Dunbar, all past Wall Road. This is wall-to-wall traffic, people, on the M5 North. Webbington, up to St George's, you're now nearly hitting Bristol. You get to Tickenham, you see the golf course, red again. And then from Gordano all the way up to Easter Compton, it's red, red, red. So, guys, if you're travelling from Exeter to, let's say, mild stomping ground of Thornbury, perhaps you're going to visit someone at the open prison at Leyhill, then it's going to take you 2, 3, 4 hours, maybe a billion years. Then, if you go further past, you get to Eastington, around Stroud, it's dark red again towards Gloucester. And then all the way up to Worcester. Really, I mean, if you're going southbound on the M5, you're going to get to see a lot of people stuck in traffic. If you're going northbound, you may as well change your address to the M5. More traffic for you on Monday.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
But anyway, it is almost 5:10. It's rush hour. We know how it is out there. So to help you get home safe and sound, it's time for John to Google the travel.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
We start with big news in Glasgow, our north of the border friends, because regular listeners will know Glasgow has been a daily fixture of traffic Googling due to roadworks, which now, according to glasgowlive.co.uk, have ended. This from their website. Motorists can finally breathe a sigh of relief after 3 long years of roadworks on the M8, 73 and 74. Have finished. More than 20,000 traffic cones, enough to span the distance from Glasgow to Fort William, have been removed in the last 24 hours. So we head to Glasgow and it's wall-to-wall traffic. The M8 eastbound is solid, the M77 eastbound is solid, and the M8 westbound is solid. So alas, those cones have been removed in vain. Onwards, it's crash on the northbound M1 from Edgware to Junction 6. That's 2 accidents within a mile of each other, so damage is likely to run into the thousands of £. M25 clock and counter past Egham as per. How many times? How many times will we have to return there? I was actually sat in that myself yesterday, but luckily it was quite mild. The M32, one of Britain's shortest motorways, leaving to the heart of Britain's best city. I'm afraid it's solid both ways from the M4 right into Bristol due to an accident towards Filton. You can take the A38, which is patchy, but sometimes is the best way to go. And finally, the M60 and the M56 into Stockport, solid as a rock. Oh, hello. Little bit of a problem on the M48 towards Ost across the first Severn Bridge, so maybe pop into the wonderful Severn View services, though I personally don't think they make enough of the view. More traffic tomorrow.
Elis James and John Robbins. From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Hello there. We start our journey north of the border, but not in Glasgow. I'm still boycotting it due to problems on 3 separate motorways until they sort that out. Instead, we are moving over to Glasgow's eastern neighbour, Edinburgh. And Edinburgh sort of has a scaled-down M25, and that's where the problems are. It's the City of Edinburgh bypass anti-clock. That's the A720, all the way round to Dalkeith, and then clock towards Dalkeith from Musselburgh. So if you're trying to circumnavigate Edinburgh, I would do so on foot or via some form of hovercraft. Middlesbrough, the traffic Riddlesbrough. Problems on the A19, which bisects Middlesbrough and Stockton-on-Tees. It's sort of a tarmac river that flows between them. Counter angle to the actual river, the Tees that actually flows between them. But that's a problem southbound to Middlesbrough and northbound from Thornaby. So not really any alternate routes jumping out at me there. So I just realised I forgot something. Yeah, I've got a bit of heartburn from that source. The M1 south past Leicester and north past Loughborough, between Loughborough and Nottingham. It's really tricky on the M1 today, guys. I suggest taking a trip up Britain's naughtiest road, the A1. That's according to The Sun, which says, let's hit the road. 4 sex shops and a swingers club make the A1 the kinkiest road on Britain. They're absolutely right. Looking into this, there are 3 or 4 of those shops on the A1. It's called Pulse and Cocktails. It's one just south of Grantham and one just south of Peterborough. There's one on the A1M. I'm just looking on their website now. And I mean, Top Shelf doesn't really do it justice.
Ban it.
I think they've only got top shelves.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the things here, I'm just clicking on it now.
It's actually quite a poorly laid out shop because it's just one big top shelf.
I mean, it's too big. That's what I would say. It comes in a number of colours. Purple, black.
Traffic, John. Traffic.
Skin colour. I don't know. I can't find out about the cocktails though. But they are actually do have job vacancies. So you apply through the website.
Back to the travel now.
It's Portsmouth. Portsmouth's bad. Sorry, a bit distracted.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Radio
X.
Elis James and John Robbins. From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks, Googling the travel. Due to complaints, you will not be hearing this noise. We start with a request. This is from Emma. I'm driving from Essex to Manchester for a job interview tomorrow, so getting to listen live. Just join the M1. Keep me updated on the M1 and M6 when you Google. Not a problem, Claire. Okay, so Essex to Manchester. It's a little heavy towards Luton, but we're talking amber, so I would imagine speeds around 30 miles an hour. No one's got a problem with that as long as you're moving, right, guys? And then up towards the M6, if you're going sort of between Nuneaton and Birmingham, you've got a little bit of problems with Bedworth. Then you're okay. You're okay all the way up to Manchester. A little bit of a jam before Sandbach. Oh, it's a hammer past Warrington, but you won't be going that way, so it's fine. Come off. come off towards Macclesfield. Okay, now back to non-requested traffic. Darlington, you won't go Farlington because there is a jam on the A1M. That is north between Darlington and Sedgefield due to a crash near Prestonleigh-Skerne. M1 North and South, Junction 24. That is... Oh, where are we now? The old friend, the M1. Here we go. Yes, Long Eaton, Loughborough, Nottingham. It's red as per. Double reds north and south past Long Watton. Couple of possibilities for services there. I think there's one around Kimberley. It might be a BP. The M42 south past Solihull. Yes, this is the sort of Birmingham's answer to the M25. Both ways from Solihull, about 2 miles north and south, or east and west. Can't remember how they differentiate on our old friend, the M42. Elis, towards your neck of the woods. In fact, actually, in your wood. This is this is severe delays from Innisforgan.
Innisforgan, yeah.
All the way to Margam.
Margam,
just to put that into perspective, if you were wanting to go the 10 miles betwixt Port Talbot and Morriston, it's going to take you over 47 minutes, Elis.
Shocking.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm deadly serious. Oh, and that is now extending towards Bridgend.
Oh, really?
So I don't know what's happened there.
Taylor's old as time.
If you're beneath Neath, you're going to be beneath Neath for quite a while. There we go, folks. Otherwise, not a bad day on the motorways. So as long as you're... braking jam. Slough. Oh, it's an absolute nightmare. That is the M4. Yes, it's a crash at the junction with the A332. So that's coming into London. I think you're going to be there for a good 40 mins. Please don't try and sort of get ahead of it down the hard shoulder. Emergency services do need that for access. More traffic tomorrow.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Radio
X.
Elis James and John Robbins. X. From the A1 to the M98. John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Folks, today it's a north of the border Google the Travel special as we concentrate our efforts on the British Scotland. So, we start on the M90. And there's a crash on the A90, which means it's going along with the A912 and on the M90 clockwise, and also the M90 from the other direction. Basically, avoid Perth at your peril. Go down also on the M90. It's southbound, all the way up from Loch Levan. So, about an hour. It'll take you about an hour. It's not too bad in Edinburgh.
You sound like Alex Ferguson.
We go to Falkirk. The wee problem on the M80. Is the M80 and the M876 is a wee problem there, so it'll take you about an hour. And the M80 Prince Cumbernauld is actually a nightmare. It's gone light red and he's that. Oh, it's Gordon Smart outside the window. He's gone a chin me. Have you ever been to Bearston? Bearston, they got a don't let Gordon in the studio. He's gonna chin me. Gordon, you ever been to Bearston?
Yes.
What's it like? Is it good?
It's not very friendly for people from Bristol now.
Is it no? Is it no? It's no.
Keep going, John. Don't let me intimidate you.
I am not really intimidated like you, pal. M8 into Glasgow. Both ways past Queen Elizabeth University Hospital. Want to put your bloody roads in hospital is so jammed. Anyway, the the M8 is both ways across the Clyde is all problems on them 74 as well, and the 77. Basically, it's like Glasgow you're on peril because you get your chinned. And that's all the traffic in Scotland. So I hope that's helped you with your commute. Nice, you know. And lovely part of the world, lovely people. Lovely people.
Keep trying, John. Keep trying.
You're part of the world, Gordon.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. A very hospitable, friendly, warm, lovely country.
Yes, absolutely. Very, very forgiving of light humour.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Elis James and John Robbins.
Radio
X. From the A1 to the M98. John Robbins Googles the travel live.
First up, folks, we travel south to our guest motorway of the day. It's the 3 in Durban, South Africa, and a crash on the joining with the M13 has caused a queue. I don't know whether it's north or southbound, so I don't know what side of the road they drive on in South Africa. I'm assuming it's the right. That's not a joke. I'm just assuming because most countries drive on the right. Anyway, Durban, the birthplace of cop legend Bruce Grobbelaar. Back over to the UK, Glasgow. If this happens one more day, I'm going to give you an award for Europe's biggest car park. As ever, the M8s, 77, 74 are all chock-a-blocker. So, as usual, my advice, swim down the Clyde. Edinburgh, also patchy. We head south now. We've never been here before. Blackpool, our old friends Blackpool. A little bit of trouble on the A535. Wouldn't usually go to such a small road, but it's always nice to remind people who don't use the motorways that traffic can be a problem. That's difficult going towards Fleetwood and Polton-le-Fylde, which I can't pronounce. The M6, that's northbound past Knutsford, yet again. I'm starting to worry that the managers at Knutsford are actually causing traffic jams ahead of the services, which, though great, are not the best in the UK. That title is hands down T-Bay and Gloucester Gate. Birmingham, left and right. If you imagine Birmingham as a Rubik's Cube, the top left corner and the bottom right corner are problematic. So that's the M's 5, 6 and 42 and 40 in various places. Hope that helps. Winchester. The only thing you're going to Winchester today is a Winchestering, a competition about who's got the worst traffic on the M3 southbound.
Very strong.
So between Winchester and Eastleigh, it does lighten up toward Chandler's Ford, but you're looking about an extra 15 minutes to your journey there. If you're traversing the cultural portal betwixt Southampton and Portsmouth, then the M27 eastbound, it clears up at West End, but from Nursling, that's really tricky there. If you live on the Isle of Wight, they have roads too. And the A3020 Cowes Road, spelt with an E, is just amber all the way. So just take in the view there of the Isle of Wight. And the M25, the entire left-hand side is a blur of ambers, dark reds and reds as ongoing works around the M4 M25 interchange, and especially at Stanwell, more towards Heathrow. You'll be probably go further taxiing on the bloody runway than you will in the car on the way there.
This just in from Helen, John. They
Yes?
drive on the left in South Africa.
Well, stone me crows. They drive on the left. So, okay, whizzing back down to Durban. That jam on the 3 motorway between Pinetown and Cato Ridge, that will be, if they drive on the left, that will be eastbound. So if you're listening in that jam in Durban, birthplace of cop legend Bruce Grobbelaar, do let us know via the texts and tweets. Okay, folks, that was John Googles the Traffic.
John Robbins Googles the travel.
Radio X.
Elis James and John Robbins.
Radio.
X.
Now, if you're stuck in a traffic jam, remember it's All Requests Friday, so listen out for the road you're stuck on, because it's time for John to Google the travel.
X. From the A1 to the M98. John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. There's a noise you won't be hearing due to complaints from people who can't separate fact from fiction. Instead, you'll be hearing noises like this. Perhaps if you're travelling to a field in the early 90s in a
Cortina.
Ford Cortina. Lovely stuff. So it's All Request Friday on John Googles the Traffic. First off, we've had a message from Lucy. She says we're travelling to Blanchland from Hawley for the weekend. Had a pit stop in Walsall. Any tips re traffic? Well, based on your spelling of Blanchland, the closest place I can find is in Guernsey. So I really think the A38 and the M1 are going to be the least of your problems. No idea where that is. Second up from Matt. He's on the A1M. Well, who isn't these days? It's so long. But specifically wants to know junctions 51 to 60. The only problem you're going to have, Matt, is a bit of a snarl up around Catterick Bridge. What you could do is take the A6055 and just bypass the A1M and join it again past Brompton on Swale. Someone is meeting Paul, their internet dating sweetheart. They're going from London to Leicester. Now, it's not too bad once you get on the M1. For God's sake, don't take the A1M. But you've got a bit of a snarl up on the A404 as you're leaving London, but then it's going to be smooth driving to the love of your life. Well, that sounds too real, doesn't it?
It's different enough, isn't it?
No, that's traffic.
I think that
that's
sounds
the whole point.
I think that sounds like downtown Moscow.
Yes. Don't play it again. Don't play it again.
Don't confuse the listeners, Vin.
It sounds like people celebrating outside of a football match. Okay, we've got quite a complex request here. This is to go A38M, M6, M42 North, A42 and A511.
What?
I know, mate. A38M out of Birmingham is an absolute N-mare. But once you get on the M6, it's going to be fine. Then you cut across onto the M42. It's amber, basically, until Kingsbury. But I think that's going to be... the main snarl up is the A38M. It's deep red. I hate to say that, but I do repeat, it's deep red.
What's your average MPH on the amber bit?
If any, mate.
Oh.
If any MPH. MPD, more like. Miles per day.
Right.
And then the A511, I'm assuming you're going maybe to, well, no, not Burton-on-Trent, you're going to Midway or Swadlincote. There's just a little bit of a problem across the sort of five-pronged roundabout in Woodville, but that shouldn't take too long. And finally, Good. And finally, we have Phil, who's going to the boxing in Sheffield. He wants to know that all-important question. He's travelling from York. Does he take the A1M or does he take the M1? Well, I'm about to change your life, Phil, because what I want you to do is take the A64, hang a left, love that phrase, used widely by stepdads, hang a left onto the M1, then come off just before Micklefield, and then A1M, then come off at Micklefield, and then it's M1 all the way, just glancing the cheek of Leeds, and then hangering right at Rotherham into Sheffield. Also, just had a request in from someone to basically... for me to tell them which parts of the M60 are going to be closed tonight. Apparently they got random road closures. I have to say, Highways England facilities for finding out what road closures are pathetic.
Yes, it's a disgrace.
They are absolutely pathetic.
It's a national scandal.
How there isn't an app when you can just put in your route, what time you're travelling, and they tell you what roads are going to be closed.
Keep talking, John.
How does that not exist? Get on it, Highways.
You have reached your destination.
Or have you? Okay, so the two closures tonight on the M60. Junction 9 anti-clockwise exit is closed from 11 p.m. till 6 a.m. And the Junction 13 anti-clockwise clockwise access is closed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's all that it's coming up on this gobbledygook website made by an absolute fool that needs a root and branch review. It's time to take a little walk on the wild side as we Google the traffic in New York City.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
Hey, I'm walking here! Look where you're going, jackass! We start down in the fashionable Brooklyn Heights region where it's crash on the I-278 West. That's going all the way down in both directions. Jams there to Goanus. I didn't name it, so don't complain. And then further up to Greenpoint. Hey, you want to meet to talk about a startup? Yeah, let's go to the Juice Shack and get our MacBooks out. A road is closed. Laurel Hill Boulevard. I wonder what they're doing on Laurel Hill Boulevard. They're probably counting their dimes. There's also roadworks. There's a construction zone. We call it roadworks over here. That's on the ramp to the I-278. I wonder what I stands for. And now on to the main island of Manhattan. If you are heading to the Carl Schultz Park, well, better take a walk because FDR Drive, named after Franklin Roosevelt, is chock-a-block. Oh, they wouldn't say chock-a-block. It's bumper to ass. Both ways. All the way from East 95th Street, probably where Lou Reed once went, all the way down to the Rockefeller University, where I studied garbage. Then the Lincoln Tunnel. Hey, I'm trying to get to Jersey. Did you note the change in my accent there?
Very good.
I'm trying to go to Jersey. You want me to stay in New York when I'm from Jersey? What, do you think I'm going to pay $7 for a jelly donut? That's how they talk in Jersey. The Lincoln Tunnel is, it's okay eastbound, but it's pretty tricky westbound. Actually, I've got that confused. They drive on the other side. It's okay westbound. It's pretty tricky eastbound. If you are traveling to, it's crash on the I-87 North. And again, about 200 kilometers, no, these miles, don't they? 200 inches further up. There's double crash. So the I-87, so that's going to be northbound. Whoa, it's such a deep red. It's like I'm bleeding out over here. All the way down to the I-95 roundabout. Though we don't call it a roundabout. We call it a go-me-round. And that's affecting the tunnel. What tunnel is that? I want to know what tunnel it is. The Washington Bridge. It's not a tunnel at all. So, if you're trying to get cross state on the Bronx Epoxy, there's a crash on the I-95 South. So that's all the way from Morris Heights to Shirleyville. Wow, I'm going to go there and find out what that's all about. And finally, there is construction work. We'll talk to your union rep on the Hutchinson River Parkway Road, and that is southbound towards Eastchester. So, good luck transporting yourself across the wonderful grid system of New York, which I have to say, from the air, is one of my top 2 sights I've ever seen at night.
We've had 3 texts from Keith, from Lisa, and from David in Phoenix, Arizona. The I stands for interstate.
The interstate! Well, I was on the interstate and you got caught in the construction on the ramp. All I was trying to do was get a cup of joe.
From the A1 to the M98, John Robbins Googles the travel live.
That's right, folks. It's JRG's The T here live on Radio X. And today it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site special. If you're travelling to view one of Britain's great cultural, historical landmarks, then don't worry, you're in perfectly safe hands. I'll go through alphabetically. Blaenavon Industrial Landscape. That doesn't get... I can't Google the traffic of industrial. I just can't believe anyone would want to go and look at an industrial wasteland. Anyway, so we'll start with... What?
That's where Big Pit is, you idiot.
Well, it's not Blenheim Palace, is it?
See me outside.
Well, I will see you outside in an industrial landscape. Not. No, I just couldn't get it to work because the search engine that the computers default to here is that joke one. So Blenheim Palace is where we start our cultural highlight UNESCO travel special. Blenheim, obviously, is just west of Oxford. If you're getting there via the A40, then going eastbound, it's a bit of a snarl up just north of Godstow, and as ever, the A34 north and south past Oxford Parkway is problematic. It's nothing too serious, probably add about 10 minutes to your journey. However, if you're coming south from the A44 past Chipping Norton, ooh, it's a smooth ride. Next, down to Canterbury Cathedral, a Norman-era building with ornate windows, and where the Archbishop of Canterbury lives. If you're coming from the M2, then the M2 eastbound, that is jammed and in the deepest red that Google Maps has to offer for about 3 miles past Ospringe and Faversham. So my advice, maybe come... you could go A249, then down the A2. Yeah, it's amber round Canterbury, but I wouldn't worry about that. It's probably just the Archbishop cycling. Like he likes to do it with at least 10 monks, and sometimes their cassocks mean it's hard to overtake because they don't always go single file. The city of Bath, quite broad for a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but obviously hard to pick a favourite part of Bath unless you've been in at the weekend, which it's an absolute nightmare. It's just full of stag and hen do's. Wonder what Jane Austen would have made of someone in false breasts being sick outside a vodka revolution. Anyway, she'd probably have written a book about it. If you're going down the Newbridge Road, oh no, that's out. That's not a problem. If you're heading into Bath from Claverton, then the southbound Warminster Road, as it crosses the Avon, well, as it sort of moves parallel to the Avon, that's tricky. But the M4, just sort of to get you in the region, is good. So enjoy the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Bath. Derwent Valley Mills, they're a collection of mills in the middle of the country. They're fine unless you're going from the centre of Derby. Ellis has a point.
Could I make a request?
Yes.
Could I request Stonehenge?
No, because I only got up to O in the alphabet and we're running out of time. So if you're coming down the A6 towards the Derwent Valley Mills, you're in for a treat. I'll hazard a guess, though, Ellis, that Stonehenge will be a nightmare because people rubberneck to look at it because it's too close to the road, which they are changing.
On the A303?
Yeah, they're going to build a tunnel under it so you can't see it.
You're joking.
No.
Is that a lie?
No, that's true.
Wow.
Next, up to Durham Cathedral. For my money, the best UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's an iconic vaulted Romanesque building. The A1M, north and southbound, is sort of the medium red, so the sort of scarlet red. So that's as far south as Bishop Middledum and as far north as Sherburn House. But I wouldn't think it's too much of a problem. You can come off the A688 and then go on the A167, which is actually a prettier route. And finally, Orkney. The Neolithic centre of Orkney is fine because there's obviously no traffic there because people just walk. It is worth Googling because there's a place with a rude place name.
Ooh, can you give us a little clue?
Ooh, Twit with an A.
Radio X. Ellis James and John Robbins.